I learned how to set goals, how to accomplish goals, how to work hard from sports. Like sports was my playground
Yeah.
for learning life skills. I learned how to be coachable, how to get feedback, how to learn communicate, all these different things and work together in teams. I learned all these things in sports, but I didn't learn how to navigate emotions.
Yeah.
So I could work really hard. I could show up early and stay late and do whatever was required of me physically, but mentally and emotionally, when something got under my skin, when someone like cheap shotted me, it was like I felt under attack.
Yeah.
I felt like my life was under attack, even though it wasn't. And I didn't understand how to navigate those emotions. So most of the time I was fine, but sometimes they would get the best of me.
Yeah.
And I would do stuff that I was like not proud of. I'm like, oh, why did I react that way? Why did I scream? Why did I blow up? Why did I get into this fight?
Yeah.
I got in multiple fights just reacting to my emotions because I didn't know how to navigate and process them. And thank goodness I never did anything like that I can't, come back from. It's like, it was all okay. But man, so many people, their emotions get the best of them. And they ruin their relationships, their marriages, their careers, their health.
That's right.
And they do things to harm themselves and others because they don't know how to understand emotions.
You're speaking my language, buddy.
I mean, and so when COVID hit for you, even though you'd been researching and teaching this for a long time, you had to face your emotions at a different level.
Totally.
How did you learn how to process it as the expert? Now that you were faced with this real world experience, how did you learn how to deal with it and not blow up your life?
Well, the one thing I did, I learned every single park in the town that I live in. And it's a pretty big town. I mean, I literally would go every day for a walk because I needed the space. I was not a person who went for walks. But because of being trapped in the house, I'm like, I got to get out of here. I don't want to look at you. I don't want to look at you. Sort of like, I need like just downtime to myself. And I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
So I needed quiet time. That really helped a lot. But I think for me, I had spent 25 years of my life teaching this, writing about it. I have curriculum in schools around the world in 5,000 schools. And here I was, like secretly crying in my room, eating really unhealthy foods. I was, just takeout, and I'm a martial artist by training. And so I stopped doing that. I stopped going to yoga classes. There was no hot yoga during the pandemic. I can imagine breathing.
So all the tools that you were used to
were taken away from me.
Yeah.
And so I had to invent new tools. And there was one night, this is the story of the opening of my book, where my mother-in-law had come to visit us from Panama for 2 weeks on March 5th of 2020.
Right before.
And
2 weeks turned into 2 years.
It turned into 8 months.
Yeah.
And so, 81-year-old woman doesn't speak English. I'm lucky I speak Spanish. But, we weren't used to cohabitating for that long. And it just so many things came up in terms of like meals and like making coffee and time, like spending time with someone who's in your house. I'm not used to that. I'm used to like, I go to work and then I go to the gym and then I do other things.
You have your routine. Yeah.
And I like routine. Anyhow, one night she looked at me and she says, "Are you really the director of the Center for Emotional Intelligence?" And I just looked at her, I'm like, not tonight, I'm not. And it's like, I thought that night, like the dogs peed on the rugs. I mean, it was just sort of like the house was nuts. But I share this story, A, because the best of us, or the most wisest emotionally of us, fail. And I went to bed that night. And I said, Mark, you actually are the director of the Center for Emotional Intelligence. And you do teach this stuff. Like, why are you not applying it? Like, what has happened to you? And I started reflecting on all this about like, well, my time and my space, and you're in, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a piece of my work, and actually the end of my book, I talk about how we regulate to become the best versions of ourselves. And so I had not actually paused in the few months before the blow up to think about, well, Mark, here's this woman who is like displaced from her house in Panama. She wants to go home.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be with you. And how do you show up tomorrow morning when you come down for breakfast as the best version of yourself? Like, what do you need to think about and what do you need to do differently to be that person for your mother-in-law? But just that 2-minute pause and reflection and reminding myself about the work I do, it transformed everything. just transformed everything. I'm like, Mark, you're a narcissist. Like, you don't care about anybody else except you. Like, you're not, this 81-year-old lady is sitting here like depressed and wanting to go home, and you're worrying about that you want to drink coffee by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so
your routine is displaced because someone's here when she's out of the country and she's not in her home.
She's got a dog and a parrot we had to deal with. It was nuts. And I think for me, something that was a wake-up call was having an other orientation.
What does that mean?
It's not just about me.
Yeah.
Emotions are not just my emotions. Everybody's got emotions. And I can regulate my own emotions, but guess what? Co-regulation is a huge piece of emotional intelligence.
What is co-regulation?
So think about it in a baby. You're working with your baby and they're crying and you're holding the baby and you're giving them warmth and you're, doing a little cooing, you're talking in a very soft voice to kind of deactivate their nervous system, and that makes you feel calm. It's this kind of symbiotic back and forth. As adults, it's me asking you good questions. It's me showing up with empathy, with compassion, with good listening skills, and saying, hey, Louis, I heard the news. I'm really sorry about that. What can I do to be supportive? Let's think about it. Let's go for a walk. Let's go play a game. Let's do something to just get your mind off of it or to problem solve about it. But I'm here for you. That's co-regulation.
I guess the challenge is when someone's, if your coffee routine is displaced, for months in a row and you just like, I can't take this anymore. And your nervous system is on high alert or even something more extreme, whatever it might be for someone. And their nervous system is not calm. And they feel like they're in chronic stress because they haven't regulated their own nervous system. How does someone co-regulate with someone else's heightened emotions or irrational emotions that might seem irrational in a context of setting? How do you co-regulate when you can't even get your own nervous system to relax and you think the other person you're with is already irrational?
Well, too activated nervous systems is a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Man.
And so you got to be the first. And, it is our responsibility, your responsibility as a father-to-be, to deactivate. You're the role model. You have to be. And so the self-regulation piece comes before the co-regulation piece. And ultimately, if you're talking about parent-child, you're the role model for, like, daddy can handle this. Daddy has, daddy talks to himself in a self-compassionate way. Daddy takes care of his body. Daddy breathes properly. And daddy's modeling that for you because daddy eventually wants you to be able to do that for yourself.
Yeah.
And
what about in a partnership though, with two grown adults?
Someone's got to take responsibility. I mean, this is the thing. It's, oftentimes, in my relationship, it's like the battle of who's the strongest person never works. And so sometimes it's like, Mark, remember you're the director of the Center for Emotional Intelligence. Because Mark, me, is like, I hate you right now.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be with you anymore. And this is very impulsive, crazy stuff. We all say this to ourselves. When you're triggered and activated, the worst of ourselves comes out. Our automatic, habitual, kind of really poor habits, just like they come out like there's no tomorrow. And in those moments, we have to build the space. And no one's going to build the space for you. You've got to learn to, again, take the breath, back up, maybe just say, you know what, I'm sorry, I cannot do this right now. I've got to go out for a minute.
Yeah.
But if you build the space, the distance, you can deactivate the nervous system, and then you can access all that cognition that you can use to then have a conversation. Here's the deal. 90% of us report never having had any emotion education. And you can't just bury your emotions because they're what make you human. The number one thing that students said to me was that they felt manufactured. And they really weren't sure who they were because someone else prescribed.
Burns.